We have an almost 2-year-old at home. So most of the theology I've been reading in the past 2 years has come in the form of children's books. Most of them read over and over and over. I can see some parents nodding. You know how it goes. One of the books that we started reading early on and that has made its way in and out of the rotation is We're Going on a Bear Hunt. Do folks know this book? It was not part of my childhood, but one of them that we were given. And the story goes that there's a family with a couple kids who are going on a bear hunt, even though it seems like they are woefully underprepared for any kind of bear hunt. Like there's a lot of unanswered questions and plot holes in the book, but it's not about that. But as the family embarks on this journey, they come across a series of obstacles. Long, wavy grass, a deep, cold river, thick, oozy mud, a whirling, swirling snowstorm, and there's a refrain at each of these obstacles. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Oh no, we've got to go through it. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Oh no, we've got to go through it. And I think that is a perfect metaphor for the journey towards Easter. That we come to Easter morning not out of the sort of general, that the story of the disciples of getting to that Easter morning wasn't an easy one. The story of Jesus getting to that Easter morning was not an easy one. It had to go through hardship, through suffering, through turmoil. The way to Easter morning was through the cross. And so you can imagine the arc that the disciples go through, that Mary Magdalene goes through, that Simon Peter felt, of losing their friend, seeing him put to death and die upon that cross. And during those 3 days of him laying there in the grave, all of their hopes of liberation, of salvation, of Jesus coming to fulfill the prophecies of the Old Testament prophets, all of a sudden dashed. Not believing that they would ever meet their friend again, not believing that the things that he had told them would come true. But still, they visited that tomb. And then on the 3rd day, as Mary and Simon Peter approach it, they find it open and empty, which at first only heightened their fear, their sense of loss. Now even the body of the person who we loved most is gone. But then, they turn around and see who they think is the gardener. And all of a sudden, their eyes are open. And they realize that Jesus is back with them. And having gone through that time of suffering and of loss, they're able to come to the joy of Easter morning, to experience a new reality breaking into their lives that they never could have expected, never could have planned for, never could have anticipated. They're reunited with their friend, their teacher, their God. And that is what the joy of Easter is all about. It's not just yet one more point on a line of general happiness or enjoyment, but is earned through suffering. It exists in contrast to so much of the world around it. In that way, I think the joy of Easter can be a radical act. To feel joy can be a powerful witness and an antidote to so much of what's happening in the world around us. The joy of Easter doesn't ignore the difficult things of life, but acknowledges them. It doesn't try to go over them or go under them or go around them, but goes through them. To hold joy even in the midst of and the face of hard things. That is the message of Easter, and that is the work of faith, and that is a radical and valuable, vital act. We live in a time when there are a lot of hard things in this world. There's a lot of pain and suffering. I think of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, increasing tensions with China, a global order that seems fractured, frayed, tense. I think of the political divisions in our own country, the rise of anti-Semitic hatred and violence being committed against black and brown people, rising crime rates, uncertainty around the economy. All of these are signs of a world, of a society that is suffering. And I think we, as followers of Christ, aren't called to feel happy and ignore those and just kind of move placidly and peacefully through life as if none of the bad is happening. We're not called to turn a blind eye to the things in our own lives and in the world that are difficult. But what Jesus is inviting us to, what his disciples are inviting us to through the joy that they felt on that resurrection morning, is to counter the suffering of our world with joy. To believe that something else is possible. To believe in the promise that the forces of life will triumph over death, that peace will overcome violence, that love will overcome hatred, even death will be defeated. That is what the joy of Easter is all about. It's about rejoicing in the impossible made possible. It's about rejoicing in the hope for a future that looks radically different than the present or the past. It's about believing that through God all things are possible. It's about having faith that in God and through God all things are being made new. And so may we who seek to follow Christ not turn a blind eye to all that is going on in our world, all that is hard in our lives. But alongside all of it, may we hold on to that joy. May we be Easter people. May we have the joy of Christ in our hearts, the joy of those first disciples. May we carry it with us, and may it radiate throughout our lives. Amen.